Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the training at TestLeaf. Today, we'll be learning Selenium IDE in detail. Before we get to IDE, let's understand the Selenium projects available as part of the open source. There are 4 projects which are under Selenium 1, Selenium WebDriver, Selenium IDE, Selenium Grid and RC. For your information, Selenium Remote Control, which was the oldest project which began at Selenium 1, has been deprecated from Selenium 3.x onwards. That means Selenium RC is no more available for your regular usage. The predominant one which we will all be learning in the days to come would be Selenium WebDriver, which is the heart of the system. Whereas today focus will be Selenium IDE, which is more of a record and playback tool. Selenium Grid is a project that allows you to run on multiple machines at the same time. So, we will get to Selenium IDE today. As you all know, the expansion for IDE is Integrated Development Environment. For Selenium project, we are talking about how do we use Selenium IDE to its best. Let's assume you go for a restaurant by name The Second Wife. Assume that you're going to a restaurant to have your lunch. It's a big restaurant, lot of foods available, and you are hungry to have your food. So what you would start with? You would start generally with your starters, don't you? Would you end your entire food with starters or would you go to the main course? I believe most of us willing to travel to the main course as starters or just the appetizers. So if we have just the starters and leave, don't you feel hungry for more? Yes, of course. Hence, Selenium IDE is also more like a starter. If you are a new person coming into the world of Selenium and you are relatively new to programming, it is preferable to start with Selenium IDE because it gives you the record and playback option. This product is designed by a person called Shinya Kastani. People found it hard to write the programming, hence he made it as a record and playback tool, and it is built as a plugin only for the Firefox. And interestingly, it uses the language called Selenese. It is one of the cross-platform and all the Selenium commands are going to be available here. So Selenium IDE is more of a learner project. When you are very new to Selenium, it is good to start with Selenium IDE. So what you see here is the test case list view. If you can write multiple test cases and you can see all the test cases that you have written right here. You can also combine test cases to a test suite. What you see here is the base URL. This is the URL of the application that we are going to learn today. And here is what you see all the recorded steps. And here is what you see the details of the commands, which particular field it is interacting with and what is the test data it is working with. We're learning all this again. And here is what you see the logs in the help. The information about what this particular command does and it is execution steps logs are. Let's spend some time to understand how Selenium commands work. One is actions, where you perform actions. Assertions, it is all about your verification in your manual testing. Assessors are storing the output of your execution. Selenese command, we said the first one is actions. Now given this is a recorded script, can you go and see what can be actions? Can you guess? You got it right. The open, which loads the URL, click and wait, which clicks and waits for that default time, type, which enters the text, What about assertions, the verifications? Out of this, what can be verification? You got it right. Verify title. Like this, you have multiple verification commands. We'll take a look at them as we go next steps. And what about the assessors, which stores the output? You got it right. Store value is the one which has the output. Now, given that you understood all the different types of Selenium commands, let's spend little time to understand the difference between assert and verify. In the assertions, when you say assert, the test will stop at that point. So when something goes wrong and you said assert title or assert text, the test execution will stop, will not run further at all. Whereas when you say verify title or verify text, if the title does not match or the text does not match, in that scenario, the verify command will show an error but will continue to run. You got it? Assert stops, verify continues on failure. Let's take a quick demonstration how Selenium IDE works. Demo time. So we take this application. As you see, you're going to open this in Firefox and then you have to open the IDE. To open the IDE, you say Alt and then go to Tools and then Selenium IDE or Control Alt S. As we learned, here is the test case list view. Here is the recorded steps in the commands. Here is where we are going to see the logs in the help. Right, here is where we put the base URL. The URL with the first slash is called base URL. Now, so this is the name of the test case. I'm going to change this by right clicking properties and change this particular test case name as IDE recording. As you see, this become IDE recording. Here is the recording option. What is understanding? By default, when you open IDE, it starts recording. Now, when you confirmed it is in recording mode, you go and click on any of the icon right here. I clicked on the icon, which brought me to this new page. Now, if you see here, the open meaning is written here. Opens the URL, maybe relative or absolute. Now, this is called relative because the base URL is here and the appended URL is only this much. And again, it clicks and waits on that particular icon, but you don't know what is this icon. So sometimes when you don't understand this, you can select this and choose options. These options are export options. The export will be taught to you in a separate training. So for the moment, we'll make sure we take something understandable. So I'm going to take this particular image. All right, what's next? So I'm going to enter my email address. My email address is babu@testleaf.com. I'm going to append a text. So I'm going to type success and tab it. Now, if we go back to the recording, now what you got here is, you got the URL loaded, you got the click and wait happened, you got the email address entered, you got the typing on the append success. But where is the key tab? Where is the key tab? The type meaning it is only entering the text. But where is the key tab? So you need to understand, by default, Selenium IDE will not record mouse or keyboard actions. Let me repeat, the mouse or keyboard actions will not be recorded by Selenium IDE by default. But you can able to write your own code by selecting the commands here. So if I wanted to do key press, I can do the key press. Now let's go back to the scenario. So we understood key press by default will not be recorded. So I'm going to get the default text enter here. So I'm going to right click and go to show all available. I wanted to store the value, or I can also confirm verify value. So let's put verify value. So here you got the verify value, which is took from the username field and confirmed it should be test leave. Now let's go back. I want to clear the text. So I'm going to press the keyboard keys, and you saw that you say type. So it said the username field of 2 and the second username field. How does it came to second username field? You will understand once you understood the locator. Until then, I recommend you to stay patient. How does it do will be taught separately. So when you type this, it cleared the value from here, and the value should be put it as blank. So we are done. And let's say you wanted to store some value. I want to store the value of your email. I can right click store value, and let's put my email. So what happens here is the email ID field value is stored on a variable called my email. I want to print this. To print a value, we have a command called echo. And then in the echo field, you have to say the variable name with this syntax. Dollar curly braces and the variable name and by the curly braces. So if you see this syntax, we were able to open it, click and wait on the first item, enter the email, type verify value. It's going to confirm the value on the username field is test leave, and then it's going to take the second field, which is nothing but this field. It's going to clear this value with the empty spaces, and then it takes the email from the email address field and store them under the variable. I'm printing and showing them. Let's see how do we run this. So I go to the log and I go to this application, and then I'm going to click on play current test case. This test case will be executed. Let's do. And if you see here, I'm going to resize. Oh, it executed very fast and everything was successful. Let's do one more time. So I'm going to click. You see the page is loading. It all done, all of them correctly. Beautiful. If you see the log, it correctly said the test case passed and also printed the email address. Why don't we check the email address by changing to something else? Let's try one of my colleagues' email address. So let's go and run this. Now if you go to the log says it retrieved the correct email address. Beautiful. So we understood that when I record and run, it should be able to perform the activity correctly. So let's go and clear the logs before we run the next time. So I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to confirm the value is testleaf1. Let's go and run. What should happen to this verification? Will it stop or will it continue on the error? But I think you all know this. When I'm expecting testleaf1, the value is going to be testleaf. The value is not going to match. In this case, you're going to get an error. But the question of interest is, will verify allow you to continue or stop your execution? You're right. It will allow you to continue. Let's go and run this. So put it on the control on the first line, play current test case. Okay. Now if you see here, watch carefully. The test cases continue to run to print even your email address correctly, but it failed at this step, saying that the actual value of test leaf did not match with the expected value of test leaf 1, which means you understood correctly that it did not work as expected. But you don't want to continue to run it. You want to stop the test. What do you do in that case? Instead of verify, yes, absolutely. You should convert to assert value. Now let's confirm. Let's clear the log one more time. Go top, run the test case. Now if you see that these steps is not executed, it failed at it. That's why it did not clear the value or neither printed the value that we are interested at. So verify failed, but it continued to run. Assert failed and stopped at that point. It did not continue further. Is that understandable? Beautiful. We also learned that the test data can be changed, but manually need to be inputted. So, in case you wanted to keep the test data in an Excel sheet and parameterize them, it's going to be very challenging for you to do that. Though Selenium HQ website, now there are a lot of IDE plugins. You wanted to do some file logging, you can use this. If you want to write some flow controls, you have highlighting. Okay. What are the limitation of using Selenium IDE? Recall yourself. One of the thing which we learned is it is just in Firefox, which means you cannot run the IDE on Chrome and Internet Explorer or Safari. I strongly believe most of you use other than Firefox for your regular testing. Also, we learned that we could able to manually change the value, but reading from Excel sheet or database is going to be very challenging. Though it is possible using the plugins, but it is again difficult to achieve. What if something goes wrong? How do you implement such scenario? You want to have a snapshot on failures or you want more details about the failure cases. How do you really do that? IDs are very difficult to put such scenario to use. You wanted to run parallelly multiple test cases as you have more and more test cases, which means you cannot connect IDE to the grid, not possible. Whereas your Selenium WebDriver can be connected to the grid. And also, if you want reports, you don't get beautiful, good looking reports from your IDE, or else you have to start writing your own plugins and formatters which can help you to do that job. But with all this limitation, let's understand one thing for sure. Selenium IDE is not the main meat. It is just a starter. Keep that in mind. So if you are very newcomer to Selenium projects, the good area to start with would be IDE. But I wouldn't recommend you to live with IDE if you are looking to become more and more implementer. With that said, let's go to the question number 2. What are the preferred languages you can write the Selenium? You can write in any language, absolutely any language. The base Selenium is written in Java, but you are affordable to write in any language. One of my customer works completely in VB script. I've seen people writing in R, dot, so multiple languages possible. What are the Selenium components you learnt? IDE, WebDriver, grid, and remote control. Please remember, remote control is out of the Selenium software library. Name the Selenium command to print a value. We learnt it. Echo. Print is obviously a QTP command. MSG box is a VB script command. Sysout is a shortcut for Eclipse system.println Java command. Which command will stop the test if the text verification failed? Assert or verify? Yes, you got it right. Assert. Very nice. Now, after this, let's learn something interesting for us to move forward. Okay, now we are interested to go to the next step of converting the IDE script to a Selenium WebDriver script. to a Java program. Let's see in the options. If you see in the format, these are all the different options we have, out of which we'll be using one of the very commonly used option called Java JUnit 4 WebDriver would be our preferred option. This one, if you look at it, create something a package here and automatically convert the code into this format. So they read the content out of the Selenium IDE, convert as a program in Java. It's a pre-built plugin. Now good, we know that this option is available. And also please note, if anything goes wrong, if the element is not found, the maximum time for the wait will be 30 seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this to a Java program. Through file, export test case as we said Java JUnit 4 WebDriver. Why? We got multiple languages here. We wanted to convert as Ruby possible, Python possible, Java possible, C Sharp. These are all the four formatters which comes by default. Even the other languages are available for formatters. But our interest lies only in Java. Now, other than the Java, it is going to convert the final outcome as a WebDriver or remote control or WebDriver backed. So our interest is not remote control or not the older WebDriver. Rather, we wanted to be interested at WebDriver. So with the WebDriver, we have come to two options. Either use as JUnit 4 or as a testng. Either is fine for us, but we'll start simple by using JUnit 4, which is the unit testing framework, relatively smaller than testng. Testng is the largest unit testing framework. We'll be using them in the upcoming classes and we will learn them very detailed on testing. I'm going to click on export test case Java JUnit 4 WebDriver. C colon learner test Steve. So I'm going to store here and the name of the file that I'm going to store will be first Selenium program. So let's save this. So we got the Java program available. Let me open that in the notepad. So if you open in the notepad, as you see the package is automatically created as we learned from the options, the format has created as we wanted. See the package. We learn what is the meaning of package, all the Java concepts in the upcoming classes. Until then, stay patient. So it automatically generated the code for us and it able to interact with us whatever we did, but purely in Java. The next step is open Eclipse and run them as a Selenium Java program. And you will see screens like this. When you have the welcome screen, just close the welcome screen. Please choose appropriate workspace, a folder name where you wanted to store all your Java programs. I created a folder by name C colon learner test leaf. Once you do that, Eclipse will launch again and you will see this screen. Now, you should create a project where you keep all the source code. We will be creating a new Maven project. What is Maven will be taught in the upcoming classes. At the moment, you create new, go to other and type Maven and select Maven project. TestLeaf teaches Maven in detail in the upcoming classes. Until then, you just choose Maven project and click next. And here create a simple project. You'll put group ID as IDE and artifact ID as TestLeaf. It is okay to do any naming convention which is meaningful to understand. This will be your project name. Testleaf will be your project name. We will not change any of this at this moment. We'll be learning Maven in detail in the upcoming classes. Let's finish. As soon as you finish, you will see that the project is getting created. It may take a while, depends on your internet speed, and you will get the project very soon. And go and expand the folder here. You will see here the 4 different packages. We will learn the meaning of packages and the Java project in detail in the Java classes. So for now, we will store them under source main Java package. If you don't know what is a package, it is more of organizing your work into folders. So we will create a new folder here, IDE, and we are going to go and copy the Java program from here, and we are going to place it right here. So what did we do? We copied the Java program that we exported from Selenium IDE, copied here. Double click on the Java program. As you see, there are a lot of errors. Why there are a lot of errors? The errors means that it does not understand who is Firefox driver. So how do we solve this? You go to the Selenium website. Inside the download, you see something called Maven information. Here you see the dependencies. This dependency will get all the required jar files for the Selenium project. But however, we need more than Selenium. We need the JUnit, we need the Apache PY for Excel read and write. We may need reports like extend reports. So we need a lot of dependent project for us to build a good Selenium project. Hence, TestLeaf has given you the pom.xml file. Take the pom.xml given by TestLeaf, copy the dependencies alone. If you have more than dependencies, copy the dependencies alone. Come back to Eclipse, go to the package explorer and click on pom.xml. Once you click on pom.xml, it opens the XML structure and you can see them when you click on the tab pom.xml again. So this is the IDE, the group ID, this is the project ID, and this is the version of your code. And enter next line and paste your dependencies. Enter next line and paste the dependencies. Let's talk in detail in the Maven classes. Let's save it. As soon as you start saving it, the building workspace will happen, which will internally download all the jar files for you from the internet for the first time. From there onwards, it will use your local Maven repository. Now, if you see here, Maven dependencies have taken all the required jar files from the internet and kept it locally. Now, if you go back to the program, the number of errors have gone. But still you have an error here, one error here, which says the package is wrong. But we created a package called IDE, but this automated generated package is com.example test. What we do? We can change this to IDE. Most of the time Eclipse will recommend the right solution for you. Mouse over on the error and that will tell you, do you want to move this program to the package or do you want to change the package? Select the second option, which will change the package name here. Just save it. You're all set. This program is returned to launch the Firefox driver. But our interest today is to run in other browsers. Let's say you wanted to run on a Chrome browser. What you should do, instead of Firefox driver, we should call Chrome driver. How do you know what is the right driver? expand the Maven dependencies. See here you got a Chrome driver. Expand the Chrome driver. Go inside the package. The name of the class which launches the Chrome is Chrome driver. The constructor has the code to launch the browser. We'll learn the constructor details later. So instead of Firefox driver, type Chrome driver. When you do control space in Eclipse, you get Chrome driver option. Select it and end with semicolon. When you do control space, automatically the Chrome driver class is imported. You will learn the import statement during your Java programming. So we got the Chrome driver. We are ready to run. How do we run a Java program? If you're new to Eclipse, new to Java, just stay patient and look at this. Right click on the Eclipse, select Run As, select JUnit. You may not see the other option because these are all my settings in Eclipse. So, but you will see the JUnit for sure and just click on it. When you click on it, you got an error. Let's understand what is the error meaning. This error means that the path to the driver which is must be set with the webdriver.chrome.driver. Alright, let's assume you are taking a flight to fly out of your existing country to go to one of the oldest Chinese city somewhere in southern western part of China. What can be challenging? One, the food can be challenging or the language can be challenging. I assume most of us might become very comfortable with Chinese food, so the most challenging part would be the language. The language to talk within the streets may look very difficult for you. So what you can do? You can either speak using through your hand signals, or you can have a Chinese translator who can help you to assist to convert your English to Chinese and back from Chinese to English. Does it work? I'm sure it does. Now, similarly, the way in which Selenium WebDriver works is to interact with the Chrome browser, it will not understand the actions. For Selenium to interact with the Chrome browser, it need some form of translator. That translator is a software which acts as a mediator to convert your Selenium API calls to a Chrome driven actions, and the responses of the Chrome is sent back using the Chrome driver. So you put an action to the Chrome driver takes it, convert to an action to the Chrome. Now Chrome comes back and give you a response, and that is converted back as a response to the Selenium WebDriver. Sounds nice. Now this is how Selenium works. By the way, who does give you the Chrome driver? Google supports Selenium project. They build the Chrome driver and give us a free on the project. Where can you find the Chrome driver? Chrome driver is available as part of the Selenium HQ website. You will see the Selenium Chrome driver available. You click on this latest link and you will be able to download based on your OS. Any version of Windows should support the Chrome driver Win32 zip, and this will have the exe file chromedriver.exe. So preferably you copy the Chrome driver.exe. In our scenario, we had a folder called Learn at TestLeaf and we created a project called TestLeaf. In this placeholder, I will create a new folder called drivers and copy all the required drivers here. We can download the latest Chrome driver from the internet and place it here. Now, Let's say you are flying from China to the next country, Japan, and you are in Japan. Now, you like to talk to someone in Japanese, but you don't know Japanese. So hence you need another mediator, which means you cannot use the same mediator to talk in Japanese. Similarly, to talk to different browsers, we need drivers. So each browser need an individual driver to interact with them. Google provides Chrome driver to interact with Chrome. Mozilla provides a driver by name Gecko driver to interact with Firefox. To interact with Edge, Microsoft provides Edge driver. As I said earlier, these drivers can be found in the Selenium HQ website. Similarly, to interact with Safari or Windows Phone and rest of them, you have individual drivers available. These browsers are not developed by Selenium, so these are all sponsored by the real browser vendors. With that said, we need to keep the Chrome driver available to interact with the browser. Now let's read the exception. The path to the driver executable must be set by webdriver.chrome.driver system property. We place the Chrome driver. Now, using programming, we need to connect the Chrome driver to this particular path. The syntax is system.setProperty, and the property as noted webdriver.chrome.driver, all in smaller case, and this would be the path of the exe file. The path of the exe file is in the same project under the drivers folder. So in relative path, I can say dot slash drivers slash chrome driver dot exe. That's it. We are ready to run the code. Right click, run as JUnit test. Now this time it should help us to launch the browser and load the URL, and it should interact with the page as expected, and you got also the print called Rajkumar at testleaf.com. Similarly, if you have to run on Firefox, instead of the Chrome driver, type gecko.driver and we have to have the gecko driver. Again for the gecko driver, we need to use the instead of Chrome driver class, Firefox driver. Now, with that said, it is not enough. We should have the Gecko driver placed here. So go back to the downloads folder and download the Gecko driver from the latest release and download for your Win32 or 64. So the Gecko driver is available now. Let's go and run the code. This time we should see the Firefox up and running. Generally, you will see a slowness in the Firefox coming up. You see the Firefox coming up now. It's loading the URL, clicking on the page. Everything is as expected. We were able to achieve the goal. With that said, we understood how do we convert the IDE code to a Selenium WebDriver code.